voice is being sponsored by cancer. So just so you know that. But my son, my loving son, has asked me to record a episode of mine that took place in 1984, and I was quite the socialite back then. I really got out and had a lot of fun and did my thing. And this is the story, and I'm going to do my best to recall everything the way I remember it. Well, it was the day before graduation. Of course, all the parties were happening. It was popping. Everybody was doing their thing. And I heard about a hotel party, which was very common back then because you could get away with it. Nowadays, I don't know if you can. But it was there was one going down out near Disneyland. And I rolled a lot with a lot of the regular crew, and we were out there and tearing it up, having a good time. I planned on staying out and then getting home because the next day I had to go to senior breakfast and practice for graduation. Well, that night, needless to say, I ended up in the hotel room, and there was this one vato in particular named Chuck DeLagos that was there. And the kegger was flowing, and the last thing I remember is we were seeing who could keep the keg flowing in their mouth the longest with the spout. I think I won. I'm pretty sure I won. Because the next thing I knew, I was under a car in the parking lot getting arrested. That was kind of something new. Hadn't had that one happen before, but I was really under a car, and I was really getting arrested. And needless to say, everybody else was, they were gone like ants. They were just gone. The lights came on, and the roaches took off. But it was of my own doing. No big deal. Till I got in the back of the cop car, and I wasn't really cooperating. At first, it was cool. And then I got into my little crazy brain that this isn't cool. Back then, I was an athlete, and I played football, soccer. I was an athlete, and I was able to get my hands around and get my legs out, and I was hitting my forehead against the plexiglass that separated me from the officer. And I was kicking it and just acting a fool. And I don't suggest you do this, but I was telling the officer, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. You know, just carrying on, having some fun. Well, they escorted me to county in Santa Ana and put me in a holding cell for my own safety because I was tore up from the floor up. And I stayed in there, and I remember I was just hammered. I had no idea what was going on. I was out of it. Well, later that morning, according to them, I was okay to leave, so they released me. I was still drunk. I was very intoxicated. I got out, and I was like discombobulated. All I knew is I had to get home because I had to get to my graduation that night. I started running, just running. That's all I knew was I got to run. I got to go. And next thing I knew, it was like I was going the wrong way. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going the wrong way. So I stopped, and I turned, headed the other way. Boom, I was hoofing it, just running. I was like, I gotta get home. I had no idea what I was doing. And I hit the railroad tracks near the freeway. I was like, okay, go up the railroad tracks. That was how I was thinking. So I start running up the railroad tracks, boom, boom, boom. And this was back in the 80s, so Orange County was a little different. It's not the same now. And I got to the city mall that is now the Block or the Outlets or whatever it is now. And I got there, and I used the phone, and I called my compa Ron. I was like, hey, bro, I just got out of jail. I need a ride to my pad. Can you come and scoop me up? He's like, yeah, I got you. I'll be right there. He came. He scooped me up. I got home, saw my mom at the front door. I jumped out of Ron's car, and I see her, and she's just losing her mind. Where were you? What happened? I was so worried. She was crying, I remember. And I said, I'm so sorry, Mom. You know, this happened, that happened. I was like, but I gotta go. I gotta get ready for graduation. And she's like, you're not going to graduate. The school called. You cannot participate in the ceremony. It ain't going to happen. The party's canceled. Nothing's going to happen. I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I said, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to be in the ceremony. She's like, no, it ain't going to happen. I remember I called the school. I either talked to the principal or the vice principal, and they weren't too happy with me. But, you know, I told a little lie and said I was with my uncle. We were on the freeway. We got a blowout. In fact, I said it was my Uncle David. Shout out, David. And they were like, okay, come to the ceremony, show up at the Anaheim Convention Center, and you won't be able to be in your alphabetical order, but you will be allowed to walk and receive your diploma. I was like, cool. So we had a plan, me and the boys that I hadn't talked to because they all took off like cockroaches, like I said earlier. We were all going to wear shorts under our gowns. Well, I show up and I'm in my gown, and I remember there was some blue checkered Quicksilver shorts. They were pretty tight, I ain't gonna lie. But I get there and I see the principal, and he could notice as I was walking, I was wearing shorts. And this fool was so mad. He was just glaring at me. I remember I felt like, oh my gosh. And he was like, where are your drawers? I was like, I don't know. I thought we were wearing shorts. So he told me, just go to the back. Go to the back. So I got in the back of the line. And I remember they still called my name. I remember looking out in the audience and seeing my mom and family members. And I remember getting my diploma and jumping off the stage. So my gown would go up and you could see my shorts. And that was it. The ceremony was over. I went home, and it was kind of bittersweet because there was no party like there should have been. And I ended up going out in the limo for a while with my friends, but it wasn't like it should have been. And I own my actions, but I didn't let all my mistakes deter me from doing what I had to do and what I knew I could do. And now that I think back on it, that kind of was the basis of my life. Even though I made mistakes, I knew what I wanted to do, and I would eventually do it. And I was able to walk, and I graduated. And so that was a good story. It was a lot of fun that night, a little crazy. But I remember I was very scared because I had to go to court. And I'm sorry to say that was my first time in court, but I was still scared. And that's it on that chapter. All right, time for another story. This one is going to be about my compa Ernie. And this is kind of like my compa Ernie thinks he's Fred Flintstone. I hope you know who the Flintstones are, but if not, Google it. But I used to work with my compa and his ex-wife, April. April was a special kind of person. She was a little crazy. She was a little crazier than me and him. And that's pretty crazy because we were pretty crazy. But we used to ride together to work, and I actually got them jobs at this place called Anacom in Fullerton. And they had a pretty rocky relationship. When they were good and happy, they were good and happy. And when they weren't good and happy, they sure weren't good and happy. I remember being at his pad, and we'd be eating, and I don't know, something would pop off, and he would take his whole dinner plate and throw it in the trash. To me, that was like unforeseen ever in my lifetime. You did that with your dinner, you were either going to get whooped with the belt, socked in the side of the head, sent to your room. I don't know. Something was going to happen, though. And usually they would just be arguing as usual, but that's just a little background on the relationship, you know. So one morning we were headed to work, and we were going down Lemon. And I can't remember the side street, but it was right before the railroad tracks in Fullerton, before Commonwealth. And it's quite a long street that runs parallel to the railroad tracks. And I was in the back seat chilling, you know, everything was cool. We're cruising. And I noticed they're arguing. They're just like back and forth. I was like, oh my God, here we go again. Lord, can I get some peace with these fools right here? But, it is what it is. So we're going, and I hear my compa tell April, stop the car, let me out. I'm out of here, let me out, stop the car. And she's, nah, I ain't stopping the car, blah, 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 boom, 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 boom. So we're still rolling. I'm like, okay, they're getting loud, the volume's going up. But we still keep going because we got to get to work on time, can't be late, So we're rolling, and like I said, we're doing some good speed. And the next thing I notice, the passenger door opens up, and I was like, what's going on here? We were going quite fast, and I was like, all right, there's no way my compa's jumping out. That's not going to happen. He's going to get messed up. So homeboy puts his foot out of the car and starts dragging it on the street, on the pavement of the street. I'm like, what is this guy doing? So that's the reference to the Flintstones, because they had a car and they would use their feet as the brakes, and they'd put their feet on the ground, and that's how they would stop. So homeboy keeps his foot out. I was like, oh, what are you doing, bro? Bring your foot back in. What are you doing? You're going to get hurt. What are you, crazy, stupid fool? Let's go close the door. And from what I remember, he kept it out there for a cool minute. I think there was fire involved. I don't know. I could have been high or drunk because, that was back then. But I do remember some flames. He could have been wearing Vans with flames on the Vans. I don't know. I'm not sure. But there was a lot of friction anyway you cut it. So luckily, I believe his foot got so hot, he finally brought it back in the car. And he closed the door, and we got to work, and April parks the car, and they're just like talking crap to each other. So I get out and I'm like, whatever. I go inside and I clock in. We had this big bay door that would open up in the warehouse, and that's where we'd come in. We'd clock in, whatever, go to our workstation. So I clock in, and I'm looking at them, and they're still arguing in the car, and they finally get out, and they come walking up to the warehouse, and one thing I noticed is it looks like my compa's walking with a slight limp. And I'm like, what the heck? Because he didn't, fall out of the car or nothing. So I'm guessing he just burned off the bottom of his shoe, and that made him walk with like a little limp for the rest of the day. I don't think he saved those shoes, but yeah, that was a good one. I was tripping that day. It was funny, and it was sad, and I ain't gonna lie, it was a little horrifying because I just pictured him flying out of the car. But that was a good one. He straight out thought he was Fred Flintstone. He thought he was going to stop the car with his foot. I'm like, what is going on here? This is crazy. But that was on the way to work. So, yeah, my compa. And that fool just got 30 days a few days ago, and he's on his way to recovery, and he's doing well. So shout out to my compa Ern. All right, here we go with another story. This one's going to be about my compa Ron. And this one's some of the details, not of the actual event, but of the details leading up to how we got to where we were, a little fuzzy. I'm not really sure. All I know is we were on Beach Boulevard in Buena Park, and somehow we pull into this Taco Bell, and it was one of the old OG Taco Bells that had the patio that came out and the fireplace in front. They don't have too many of those around anymore. But this one's actually still there. The patio's been enclosed, and it's, I think, a Chinese place, and they got one of the newer Taco Bells right across the street. It's whatever, but yeah, so we pull into this Taco Bell, and it was already late in the afternoon on a weekend. I don't know if it was a Saturday or Sunday, and I don't know what we were doing out there. I'm guessing we were coming from a family party at one of my relatives' house. That would make sense because that's the area that we were around, like my Tia Linda's pad or my grandparents' pad or even my Uncle Martin's pad. So I'm guessing we were leaving there, but we pull in and we get in line to get food, and there's these two bikers in front of us. And I don't know if they were Mongols or Hell's Angels. I really don't know because I really wasn't into that thing. But these are some straight out bikers. So me and Mike go around chopping it up. We're gonna get some food. And I don't know how it happened, but weed came up. So we were talking about weed, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't know. I ain't got no weed. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. And so we have no weed, whatever, but we were going to get some food. And these two bikers turn around. They're like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm like, hey, what's cracking? What's going on? And they're like, hey, so you guys want to get high? And I look at Ron, and I ain't going to lie, I was a little apprehensive. Ron's like, yeah, let's get high. So we get our food, whatever, and the dudes are like, okay, just follow us. We're going to go back to the pad over here. It's over here in the neighborhood. So I was like, man, it's kind of sketchy. We don't know these guys. What the heck? So I was like, whatever, let's roll. Let's do this. So we go back to their pad. And I'm pretty sure we went down this alley. And I was like, oh, man, why are we going down this alley? What's going on here? Ended up going into the garage, and they had the garage set up. I think there was a pool table. And we went inside, and these fools pull out some joints that were like, all right, like from Cheech and Chong, Led Zeppelin, they're pretty big, like whatever. So we get stoned out of our minds. I was like, man, what is this? What have we been smoking? But it was all cool, man. We kicked it with these fools, and this really doesn't matter, but I just wanted to bring up they were both white and we were both Mexicans. So it was a little weird, but it was cool. It was a cool vibe, especially after we got high. It was a super cool vibe. And we were just chilling, playing pool, I think, and we ate our food and we just kicked it, and we just like got super high off these two bikers that we didn't even know. We randomly ran into at a line at Taco Bell. And I think back on it, I was like, I would never want my children to do that. Why would anybody do that? But these biker dudes were super chill. They were super cool. They just heard us talking about weed, and they got us high. So, and I ain't gonna lie, I've done that to other people more than one time. Got people high that I didn't know. I was like, hey, yeah, we'll hook it up. And we did our thing, boom, 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 hung out, partied, and then we went on our merry way, and we went home. My compa dropped me off, and then he went home, and that was it. But it was a really random thing that happened. And today I drove past that place. We actually pulled into the gas station that was right next door to the old Taco Bell, and my daughter got gas. She was bringing me back from my checkup at the doctor, and that's what sparked this memory. So I wanted to pass it on while I still had it fresh in my head. So yeah, that was my compa Ron's mentality. Yeah, let's go. I was like, oh man, okay, we're gonna get murdered, whatever. But yeah, there were a couple cool biker dudes, and we got super high. I know I was super high, but yeah, just another event in my life. Let's do another one. This one's gonna be about my compa Manuel. This dude always looked out for me. He always had my back. He was down for his crimes. I went to Catella High School. He went to Anaheim High School. He would still come to my high school sometimes, and he would even come to my classes. I'd be like, oh, it's my cousin from Mexico, whatever, and he would stay in the class. They would let him. I don't know why the teachers would just do that. So me and him were pretty tight. I was tight with all my compas, but one night we were going to go to a party, and I want to say I was 17, and I wasn't the biggest guy. I was probably about 165, 170, playing football, and I was pretty cut. I was pretty muscular, but I wasn't really huge. Manuel was pretty big. He was bigger than me. Well, we heard of a house party out in I want to say it was Villa Park, but the high school was El Medina, so it was like in that area. And man, we all hated El Medina, a bunch of rich white people, just like they were just so much better, blah, 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 whatever. So either way, we cruised to a party up there, and I don't remember how I heard about it, but it was in a very nice area. Like I said, I think it was Phillip Park. So we get there and we go in, we're checking it out. And what's weird about this story is I don't remember there being anybody there that I knew except for Manuel. I'm guessing there was, or how else did I hear about it? You know, usually you hear it through the grapevine and then everybody meets up there, whatever, do your thing, whatever. But for some reason, I don't remember anybody else being there except me and my compa Manuel. So we go in and there's a bunch of people, nice pad, big swimming pool out in the backyard, people drinking, partying, whatever. And a bunch of big El Medina high school football players wearing their Letterman's jacket, whoop-de-woo, whatever. I'm like, yeah, look at these fools, whatever. So, you know, we're hanging out, I'm drinking. Manuel really didn't drink too much because he would always drive. I didn't care. I would drink till my shoes fell off, and believe me, they fell off more than one time. So I don't know what started this. I don't know if there was an argument. I know something happened that rubbed me the wrong way. It could have been a female involved. I'm not sure, but I'm out in the back. Manuel could talk to anybody, so he's chopping it up doing his thing. And I finally tell him, I said, "Hey, bro, when I tell you let's go, it's time to go." And he gives me that look like, oh, what's up? So I go in the backyard and he's right there like on the ledge over there to the side, and he's looking at me. And I proceed to start pushing all these fools into the pool. And I really can't tell you how many there were. I know there was more than 3. I kind of remember 5. So they must have been some slow-ass linemen. I don't know. But I pushed all these fools with their Letterman jackets on into the pool. Turn around. Manuel, let's go, bro. It's time to go. We were gone. Bam. We were out. Jumped in his car. We were gone. Homeboy starts racing around this neighborhood, hitting these corners. I'm like, oh my God, Manuel, go. They're going to come after us. Let's go, bro. They're going to kill us. Let's go. We start going. He's like, no, we'll be out here. We're cruising. Taking all these corners up in this neighborhood. Finally goes down this other street, makes a left, going, boom. And we're right back in front of the house that we were just at. I said, oh my God, bro, what's going on? No, there's all these people out in front. It was crazy. So either way, he finally goes, and we get down, and we take a right instead of a left this time. And, we made it out. We made it out unscathed. Nobody came after us because they probably knew who I was, so they didn't come after us. It was all good. But, yeah, that was I remember my compa was a little mad at me, but he was cool with it. He was like, man, bro, why you always doing stupid shit like that? And I was like, bro, son. And I know something happened. I can't remember because it was a long time ago, but I know something happened. I wouldn't just randomly push people into a pool. All right, I take that back. I might randomly push people into a pool, but these fools, I'm sure they had it coming to them. So either way, that was the only time Catella football ever beat El Medina, and that was because of me. So, yeah, it's good times with my compa Manuel. Shout out to him up in heaven. All right, let's do another one. This one's about living in my grandparents' home and being raised with my aunts and uncles, my tios and tias, as pretty much siblings, and being the low man on the totem pole because I was the first grandchild. So it had its perks, though. I remember my grandfather, man, that dude he just loved me. I was his first grandchild, and it was cool. It was cool with my grandma and all my aunts and uncles. But, I was the lone man on the totem pole. I remember helping them sort through junk and do newspapers, fold them up for the paper route. It was kind of rough. You had to hold your own, and living there taught me to be a survivor and to be, you're either quick or you're going to lose. You had to be fast on your toes. That was my first exposure to having a home with so many people in it, and I always loved it. There was always people around. My aunts and my uncles, they were always looking out for me. Um, it was cool being a little kid though, because like I remember my Uncle Martin would have me fight the other little cousins when we'd have family picnics or family parties, and he would get me going, and we would fight, and it was always fun. It was always fun playing with my cousins when they would come over. But my aunts and uncles, they were, like I said, like siblings, like older siblings to me. I actually saw one of my tias today, my tia Linda, and she kind of even mentioned it to my daughter Shannon. Hey, Henry was kind of like a brother. He was like the little brother. But there was always things you had to do, and my grandpa ran that home with the iron fist. And if you didn't fall in line, man, you'd have to watch Star Trek with him or Gunsmoke. Man, I hated Star Trek. It was horrible. It was horrible. That was the worst punishment ever. But man, I just remember piñatas, climbing in the trees. My grandpa was a sanitation engineer. Yeah, he was a trash man, but he would bring things home. I remember being 6 years old, going on his route with him. He would take me out of the trash truck, and we'd throw trash in, and the compactor would come on. That things were way different back then. You can't take no kid on a trash truck, but I did, and I'm so thankful for that. That's not a memory that too many people, I'm sure, have nowadays. I've never met anybody that has that memory, but I had it. I remember one time he brought us home a swing set in the back of the trash truck and just all kinds of stuff. There was always things popping at my grandparents' house. And I remember doing things that were wrong with my aunts and uncles. My tia would take the car without permission. I remember one time she was taking her friend home, and my grandma was asleep, and she was driving her, and this was my tia Tony, and she was driving the car, and I was in the back seat, and we get pulled over, and she's all telling the cop, oh no, my mom told me I could take my friend home, boom, boom, boom. And, oh no, my bad. She's like, no, my mom was asleep, so I had to take my friend, I had to give her a ride home. And I was in the backseat. I was like, no, grandma was awake. And she got so mad at me. I was like, oh my gosh. But, you remember these things, but the cop let us go. He said, all right, take her home. Then you guys go home. So things were like, I know you always hear things are different then, but they really were. It was really weird. But La Mirada, that was my home before Anaheim. And I remember going down the street to Kika's friend's house and learning how to swim in the swimming pool, going to the beach, being thrown in the ocean, learning more how to swim there. And they were all older than me, but, they looked out for me. Waiting for them to get home, because they were in higher grades, and just them yelling at me, them talking their crap. I remember listening to oldies out in the front yard with them. That's like one of my best memories, is listening to music with all of them sitting around on milk crates, folding newspapers for the paper route. Just having that bond and that family unit, to me, that was the foundation of how I would want my family to be and keep them together and tight. And they might have not been the best, but I was blessed with them, and I will forever love my family. That's just the way it is. All right, this is if my grandkids ever hear this, I want them to understand I kind of had a complicated life from the beginning. It was back in the 60s. My mom was a teenage mother. She had me when she was 16. My biological father ended up going to Vietnam, and it changed him forever. When I was born, my grandfather did not allow my biological father to see me. He threatened him and told him he would kill him. In fact, if he ever came to try to see me, my grandfather was very protective of me. He considered me his own, basically. And it was always a part of my life that was a struggle to understand that I had another family, because all I knew was the Ramirez's, but I knew there was something else. And my mom would take me to my biological father's parents' house. So I did get a chance to meet my tios and tias on that side. When I was little, my mom would take me over there. But my tios and tias also grew up with them, so they knew each other. They went to school with each other. Actually, my tia Linda kind of had a crush on one of my tios on my biological father's side. So there's just things that cross-section there. But this is one story how it related to me living with my grandparents. I touched on folding newspapers for paper routes, because my grandfather did a lot of paper routes. Well, we were cheap child labor back then, so we would fold them all up. If it was dry, we would throw the rubber bands on them. If there's gonna be rainy weather, we'd have to put them in a plastic bag and we'd hook them onto the doorknob. If not, we would toss them from the back of his truck, and he had paper routes all over the place. In fact, as a side note, they would give free things sometimes in the newspaper. Like, I remember one time they gave away chocolate bars for Hershey's, I believe. So you'd have to put the Hershey bar in, fold it up, and stick it in the plastic bag, because when they gave things away, you couldn't put the rubber band around them. And we had local ones like real close to the house where we would deliver. So when that happened, me and David would go around and we'd go back after they were delivered, of course, because we couldn't take them out because we had to deliver them. But then we'd go back later thinking we're slick, and we'd take all the candy bars out of a bunch of the newspapers, and we'd come up on a grip of candy. So yeah, that was good times. But I remember there was at least 5 of us in the back of my grandfather's truck, and we were going down Pioneer Boulevard, and we were just cruising, we're going. And then there's this dude on a 10-speed bicycle, and I can still picture him to this day being in the back of the truck, and this guy just riding his 10-speed bicycle down the street. And it was one of my tias. I don't remember which one. And she said, "Hey, that's your uncle right there. That's your Uncle Chavo." And I saw him, and I just looked at him. But we were, like I said, we were driving in the truck, so we were going kind of fast, and he was riding a bike. So I got a pretty good look at him. And I just always remembered, I was like, man, that was my uncle. You know, I'm related to that guy. But I was very young, so, you know, it didn't all dawn on me. He ended up becoming one of my favorite uncles. This is going to get off track a little bit. He became one of my favorite uncles. And later in life, when I connected with my biological father, I asked him to please take me to see Chavo. And he took me to see him. And he was partially blind, and he was riding a bike back then. This fool was legally blind. That tells you how crazy he was. So either way, we go to his pad, and he comes out, and he was a little scared, and I remember he ran in the house, but then he found out who we were. And I had the best time visiting him. And back then, I still drank, but I had a good visit with him. And, you know, God works in mysterious ways, because he ended up getting murdered not that long after. And I was very sad. You know, I really loved him. He was a shifty dude, though. He always was up to something. But I always remembered him with a good heart and very loving. And those cross sections of little things that happen in your life, it can't help but remind you of how complicated things can be. But you can make them simple as you get older, to just accepting who you are and where you come from, and just keep it simple and accept things for how they are. But yeah, so That was part of my grandfather and part of my other side of my family from the Tello side. But that was always a good memory with those newspapers and then seeing my uncle. All right. Like I said, if you guys listen to this, I'm talking about my grandkids, you got to understand this was your old grandfather when I was a youngster in my 20s. But I went to Spain to visit your grandmother, and while I was there, I became friends with one of her friends. His name was Jack, and he was a cool dude. He was a black dude. He was super cool. And he would take me out. We'd go around town, do our thing, whatever. And the people that were kind of like the dirt bags in the part of Spain that we're in, they called them gypsies. They weren't real gypsies that you would think of, but that's what they called them. They were like the thieves and stuff, whatever. Well, when they find out you're American over there, you kind of attract attention because people want to leave there. They want to get out. But so sometimes they know who you are, sometimes they don't. But in this one particular time, I was with Jack, and we're out drinking, doing our thing, and he took me into this one bar, and I don't know what he was doing. It was like some type of transaction with this guy. It looked a little shady, if you ask me, but I didn't judge. I was like, whatever, get on with whatever you're doing, homeboy. So he did his thing, whoop-de-woo, whoop-de-wah, gets whatever. I didn't really see too much being exchanged, but something was definitely going on. So he does whatever he does, we leave. And he does this a couple times. So I'm like, okay, homeboy's putting in work, doing some dirt, whatever. So we split, and then we go to this other bar, and we sit down. And I sit down next to this guy, and we're just drinking. Everything was cool. There was a bar, tables. It was pretty packed. There was a lot of people in there. And I ended up, this guy walked by me and either bumped me or I bumped him. I know there was contact made. And I was like, whatever. I didn't really care. I drank so much back then. I was already drunk. I was having a good time. I was like, whatever. I was down for my crimes. You want me to get in a fight? We'll get in a fight, whatever. So I'm in this bar, right? And this happens, and we make contact, and homeboy gets up. And he's just like looking at me like, what's up, homeboy? What are you going to do? So I'm looking at him like, psh, I don't know who this fool thinks he is. So I get up, and Jack gets up. And then so he's looking at us. Next thing I know, a bunch of other people get up, gypsies, like his backup. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. All right, this is going to get interesting real quick. So when that happened, a bunch of other people got up, all Americans. I was looking around like, what the heck just happened? I was like, yeah, what's up, bro? We gonna get down? Let's get down. And once the gypsies that had gotten up saw all the Americans, like I said, the Americans stuck together. They were gonna back each other up regardless of who they were. After all the gypsies saw everybody get up, they just like slowly slapped back down in their chairs and did not make a peep. I was like, it was like a movie. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, oh my God, did this just happen? Let me get another drink. This is awesome. And that was like just one of the adventures that I had with Jack, or that I had in Spain. I ain't gonna lie. I fell down on every street in the city of Rota drunk. It was, I don't recommend you do it ever. Any of my grandchildren, don't ever do that, especially if I see you. It'll be consequences. But I had a great time there. The people were awesome. I was still, at that time, so in love with your grandma. Oh, and that's another little thing I'm going to throw in while I got the chance, is that I want all of you to know you all came from love. Every single one of you. You came from some wonderful, strong love. Don't ever forget that. But when I was in Spain, I was a knucklehead getting crazy. I want you to understand that too. But while I'm making this right now, understand I've been sober for 19 years. 19 years. So that'll tell you something. All right. But Spain was fun. Hopefully I'll tell another story about Spain later. All right. All right. I'm going to do a story about Junior. And this took place after my separation from my ex-wife. And I was in my late 30s. I believe Shannon was living with me, and Junior was living with me. I'm not sure if Alyssa was there yet. I think Alyssa was there too. I think I had a full boat. One thing I noticed when I got separated from Julie is my son Junior became instantly smart. It was really weird. He was just the smartest dude in the world. And he knew a lot. And I was like, wow, this dude just really knows a lot now. He was a pro NBA star. Let me see what else. Yeah, he studied under LeBron James. That's an inside joke. But he was a good, hardworking kid. The girls were both coming around doing their thing. But I remember we got home, and I don't remember if we were coming home from a practice or where we were coming home from, but we used to park. This was when we had the apartment, and we would park in the back, and we would walk near where the pool was and take the little sidewalk to our stairs, and we'd go upstairs. Well, this particular afternoon, early evening, we get home, we're walking, and Junior was being his normal self, jumping around. He was a little kid doing his thing. I remember I told him, hey, calm down. Just come on, we're gonna go in, whatever. I think we might have been coming back from the store. I'm pretty sure it was the store, yeah. So either way, we go walking up to the pad, and the path, the sidewalk, it wasn't huge, but it was plenty of room. Well, this dude starts jumping around on the side near the grass, and he's going on the side, and he slips and falls, and he falls, and then he gets up, and when he gets up, he is just covered in dog poop. It's all over the front of him, and I'm looking at him like, what the heck, bro? What are you doing? And he's just looking like, I'm like, oh my God. He's like, oh, I gotta go in the house. I said, man, you're not going in the pad like that. And I remember he just got this look at us. What do you mean you can't go in the house? I said, nah, bro, you're full of dog poop. You can't come in the house like that. You're gonna get dog shit all over the place. No. He's like, well, what do you want? What am I gonna do? I said, go to the swimming pool area. Go to the shower where you rinse off before you get into the pool, and when you get out, and rinse off there. And he's like, what? I can't go over there and do that. I said, go over there and rinse that dog shit off yourself. You're not coming in the house with that all on you. And I think I went with him. I don't remember 100%. I hope I went with him. But if I didn't, no big deal. It was just, whatever. He had to get that dog shit off. So he went over there, got in the water, the shower, turned that sucker on. And it was pretty high powered. It got all the dog poop off him from what I remember. But I just remember it was the funniest. It was so funny how he got all that dog poop. And I think he got a little traumatized too. He was a little tripping out. But, that's one of the lessons you learn. Listen to your dad and you won't get dog shit all over yourself. Words to live by. Listen to your father. There was an old show used to come on TV called Father Knows Best. And that's pretty much true. He's older. He understands why he's been around a lot longer than you have. So pay attention to your dad. I do. I try to, even though my dad now is starting to show signs of dementia. If they do that, don't listen to them. All right, just a little word of advice. But with that being said, I do love my father. So shout out to Johnny Anguiano. He's out there in the world messing around right now, but he's a good guy. So like I said, that was one of the fun times that we had in the apartment. which there was a lot of fun times in the apartment. That's when I was newly sober and I was starting a new life and learning things along with my children. I learned from them as well. I paid attention to them and I learned from them as well. So, yeah, Junior got dog shit all over himself. All right. All right. This is another story. I guess a good title for it would be The Podium. This was about when Junior was going to graduate from high school. I was in my late 40s, and me, him, and Shannon were all rolling out to Centennial High School. And we got there early, of course. And when we got there was nobody there yet. The stage was set up, the podium, the chairs behind it for guests and all was all set up. And the fence was open to the football field to where everything was set up. So I tell my daughter Shannon, hey, check it out, Mija, let's go out there and I want you to take some pictures of me and Junior up on the stage. And I think there was a security guard or two, but I was like, whatever. They could have been police officers, I'm not sure. So she was a little reluctant. She's like, no, Dad, you're going to get us kicked out. We're arrested. Boom, 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 boom. I was like, nah, come on, let's just do this. So we go out there and me and Junior get up on the stage and we stand behind the podium and we have he's on the one side, I'm on the other, and we put our hands up in there like we're waving to the crowd, and she takes a picture, which is one of my favorite pictures, actually. It's really cool. And then we take a couple more pictures, and we do it rather quickly, when we're lollygagging or anything. Just, I didn't want to get Junior in trouble, and I didn't want to get in trouble. I wanted him to be part of the ceremony and walk and get his diploma and so forth, I think there's a story earlier I told about how mine didn't work out too well, but in the end it kind of did. But either way, so we do these pictures, and my daughter Shannon was like, Dad, let's go. You're going to get us in trouble. So we exit, and as soon as we get off of the field, they did in fact come and close the gate and lock the gate because they didn't want anybody else having a brilliant idea like I did. And so we ended up going and getting our seats. Junior went to hit the staging area so he could get ready for the ceremony. All the family showed up. He walked onto the field. He got his diploma. It was a really cool ceremony. Everything went fine. Everything was cool. And we didn't get arrested. We didn't get kicked out. Everything was cool, just like I assured my mija that we wouldn't. But I look back on it, and it was a calculated risk. And I knew nobody else had a picture like that. Nobody in Junior's class had a picture like that. And I've always been a little different. I've always liked things that other people didn't have. I'm that way with clothing, with whatever. I like things that are different. And I knew that would be different. I knew that picture would last a lifetime. And people I'm sure they see it and go, what the heck? How did you get this picture? What's going on? But that was a tribute to my son that he could see and understand. You can really do anything. You got to make sure, no one's getting hurt or something like that. But you are able to do things that you want to do. You just got to stay focused and commit and execute correctly. I executed that. That was a calculated risk and a plan, and we did it, and I knew everything would be okay. But the picture speaks for itself. It's one of my favorite pictures, and it was just me and him, and me and Junior. It was a culmination of a journey that him and I started together, from when I got divorced and got sober to him graduating and completing high school before he started his next journey, which was college. And I just always loved that picture, and it'll forever be one of my favorite pictures. And hopefully I can take some more pictures that are one of a kind. They didn't have cell phones back when I was crazy, so I guess that's good. Didn't get no incriminating evidence. All right, that's enough of that one. This is a story about the person that I became, the person that people see, or some see and maybe some don't see, but this is really about me, but it's about somebody else. One day I was at work and I was in my office, and my loader, Billy, calls me over and calls me out. I was like, Henry. I was like, what's up, bro? He's like, hey, bro, I just had this LTL driver just break down, bro. He was losing it. He was just crying, and he can't control himself. I was like, okay, is he okay? He's not driving, right? He's like, no. He's like, I think he went to the break room. I was like, okay, well, what happened? He's like, I was loading him, and his phone rang, and he got a phone call, and he was told that his wife has cancer. I was like, oh my God, that's horrible. So I was like, okay, where's he at? He's in the break room. He's like, yeah, he's in the break room. And this gentleman is very distinctful. One of his hands is kind of like a club. It's not fully developed. Nice Mexican gentleman, super cool, very cordial, just a good dude. So I go into the break room and I see him at the table, and he's just crying. He's in despair, and I could just feel what he was going through. So I walk over to him, and like I said, I didn't know him, and I put my arm around his shoulders, and I was like, hey, bro. I said, it's going to be okay, man. It's going to be okay. And he was just looking up at me with tears in his eyes, and he was just shaking his head. I said, hey, it's going to be okay. I said, I'm going to pray for you right now, okay? And he was like, okay. And I prayed for him, and I prayed for his wife, and I prayed for his family, that God just bless them and watch over him, and that God take the cancer away from his wife, and to just bless them. And I had no idea what I was doing. I ain't lying. I had no idea. All I knew is God was leading me to do this, and it definitely wasn't me. And I just prayed over him, and it wasn't like a super long time, not like I was up on the pulpit or anything or channeling anything. I was just praying from my heart. And when I was done, he was so thankful, and his face and his demeanor had changed, and I was like, it's going to be okay, bro. Believe me, it's going to be okay. And as he left, I was in my office. As he left, he waved to me. And then I hadn't seen him for a minute because we get real busy. Different people come in and out. And like I said, I hadn't seen him for a minute. Although the same trucking line would come, it would be different drivers. Excuse me. So one day I'm in my office and I see him on the floor. I was like, oh, okay, he's back. So I was kind of afraid to talk to him. I was like, oh my gosh, what if something happened to his wife? And I was afraid. I ain't gonna lie, I was afraid. And I saw him get his paperwork, and I saw him leaving down the ramp. So something inside me said, nah, don't be afraid. You gotta go talk to this guy. So I get up and I go down the ramp, and he's already getting into his truck. And I said, hey, bro, how you doing? And he turns around and he shakes my hand and he hugs me. And he's like, I'm doing good. And with the really thick Mexican accent, Spanish accent. And I was like, how's your wife? He's like, she's doing so good. She is really doing great. And he was just smiling ear to ear. And I just remember all the joy that I felt. And I was just like taken back. And I was like saying it to myself. I was just like, thank you, God. Thank you. And he got in his truck and went on his merry way. And I went back in my office, and I had a great day after that. And I was just so thankful to God. And then I would see him, he would come in and he would just smile at me through my window and just wave every time. And that really blew me away. And that helps me be who I am today, doing things like that. or not me doing things like that, God doing things like that. And it allows me to be me, and it allows me to be genuine. And that is a huge blessing. And I hope this is one of the stories that my children always remember. And I hope they all get to hear this. I hope that my grandchildren get to listen to this one day and get a little insight into their tattooed crazy grandpa who runs the mafia for the Mexicans, or I don't know what, went to jail for 20 years. I don't know. I am a convicted felon, I ain't gonna lie. But I hope they get some insight into who I really was and the size of my heart and how much I loved God and loved his family, and that's it. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Hey, psych. I ain't singing. All right, this one here is gonna be about my grandchildren, the ones I call the OGs. They are my 3 oldest. That'd be Tony, Jackson, and Xavier. I was blessed to become a grandfather in my late 30s. Tony was the first one that came on the scene, and her, like all the rest of them, were a true blessing from God. I remember the day she was born like it was yesterday. I remember the long day at the hospital. I remember all the people that were there. I remember when she arrived on Earth and everything was good, and it was like, okay, she's here, everything's good. And I was able to go home. When I came back to pick her up from the hospital, I remember it was cooler that day. I believe it was drizzling a little because I wore pants, and back then I never wore pants. I picked her up, and as I picked her up and was leaving, I found out that my other OG, Jackson, had been born and was on the next floor up, I believe, if I remember correctly. So I went to go see him, my number 2. And I remember holding him. He was a brand new little baby, and it was amazing. And I remember talking to his mom, Katie, and telling her, Katie, this is my grandson. I'm his grandfather. I don't care about anybody else. This is my grandson, and I want to be in his life. And that was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, was talking to her and going to see him. And God blessed me with that opportunity. I always ponder that. God put me in that space and time for a reason. Truly amazing. And then the next one, Xavier, I remember going to see him when he was born. He was at, oh my gosh, the hospital in Fullerton. I don't think it's St. Joseph's. I don't think that's the name of it, but it's the one. It's the one I always pass by off of Bass and Cherry. So I remember going to see him and seeing his little face, and he was a little puggy face, and I remember how much joy he brought me. And I specifically remember Ivana and how happy she looked. That was one thing that stuck out. It was like she was so happy. Well, you 3 have brought me so much joy in my life, and we've had such different achievements together. To see you interact with the family and grow and just be a solid foundation for me as a grandfather to learn and to express myself. And I was learning with you guys as I went along, because there's no right way or wrong way. I only knew my way. And I got that from the experiences that I had with my own grandparents, who loved me very much, I know, but didn't know how to show me that love. And I wanted to make sure I didn't fail you guys with that. And I tried my best best to show you all love, and I think I did a pretty decent job because I know you guys love me and you show me affection. And I'm going to tell you guys something, and this is Jackson and Xavier. And sometimes I would text you guys just so you would text me back, "I love you too, Grandpa." There was no other reason I would text you. I would tell you, "Hey, how you guys doing?" But that was the only reason I would text you guys. And I just want you, all three of you, to know that all three of you were born out of so much love and have so much love to give and are just so genuine and loving and have brought me so much joy in my life that it could never be replaced or compared to anything. So you all better understand that you carry some of me with you, and that'll carry you a long way as long as you allow it to. And you just do what you got to do. But you all mean the world to me. And I can't wait till I do another recording one day and see where you guys are at in your lives. All right, this is, I guess, part 2 of the grandkids. This one's about the middles, who are Miles, Lily, and Mila. I call them the middles. They were the second phase. It had been a stretch from Xavier to Miles. Xavier's 15 and Miles is 7. So there was a drought there for a while, but that's okay. Miles came and then the girls came, boom, boom. That was all 3 of those births. I was there for all of them. I was there for all of my grandchildren's births. But you guys, I was so excited for Miles being born because it had been such a while. And plus I knew he was going to be in the house. And then Lily too, when she was born, she was in the house. You guys opened up a new world because I started being a grandfather again to little ones, and it hadn't been like that for a while. And just today, I picked up Mila from school, and I've done that with all of you guys, and that was just so awesome. I started taking you to get your shoes for school every year, and I told you, well, we'll do that until you get to college. After that, because shoes get really expensive, but I'm down with that. Lily and Mila, always picking you guys up for your birthday and taking you out to eat and spending alone time with you guys so we would have that bond and let you guys pick everything you want to do. Very special to me. Watching you guys dance as ballerinas was like so awesome. That experience will stay etched in my mind forever. You 3 just started the next phase of grandchildren, and to see you all in school now and doing your own thing and becoming and having your own little personalities, priceless. Now, when the littles started rolling through, who are Luke, Jack, and Max, that was like the second phase. And you guys are still little, but very much have your own personalities and carry your own weight. Luke, oh my gosh, you love cars. I've taken you to car shows, introduced you to people that I know you'll never remember, but you met a lot of people. You were a pivotal part of the lowrider world, and you didn't even know it, but you were. And you love motorcycles too. Always cool. Jack, what can I say about Jack? He is he's like the Tasmanian devil. He is just everywhere. Jackie boy, you don't listen for nothing. When you turn 6, I am gonna beat you up. I like how you come at me and then you run away and think you can get away, and I let you think you can get away, and it makes you so happy. You are definitely a free spirit, And I know you're going to be an awesome person. You have a lot of love in your heart too. All my grandchildren do, but you do, Jack. You can really show your love sometimes when you just come and sit next to me, Grandpa. And I was like, let me home, and you're just there. And we watch TV. It usually only lasts like a minute, but it's a good minute though. I like it. And then there's Max. And Max, you have a distinction that nobody else has. You carry something that none of the other grandchildren carry. All of you are tattooed on my body. All of you, every single one of you. Except you, Max, my boy, are tattooed on my arm, and your name is Maximo on my arm, even though your name is officially Maximus, but everybody calls you Max. But on me, you're Maximo. Maximo was my great uncle. No, he was my great uncle, because he was my grandfather's uncle. And this man would ride his bicycle around town in Encarnacion de Diaz in Mexico when he was like in his 90s. And homeboy would be cruising around just doing his thing. And I was like, man, this is one strong dude here. And he led the family. Even in his old age, he still held his own. So when Shannon told me she was going to name you Max, I was so happy. I was like, that's cool. I said, but I'm going to refer to him as Maximo. And because it's still the same name in any way you cut it. But you're the only one that has your name tattooed differently on me, mijo. Because you are, I don't know, there's going to be something different about you. Somewhere this road is going to take you that no one else is going to travel down. And I don't know, something tells me you're going to be destined for greatness. Because you carry something different than everybody else. And I can't wait to see where all of you guys go in life. You're all going to be successful and do your own thing. And I just want you guys to know that. That's it. That's a wrap. All right. This one is about my kids. Where do I begin? I guess at the beginning. Well, when I found out I was going to have a son, my wife-to-be was in the military. And we were kind of on rocky ground. We knew we wanted to be together, but she wasn't communicating with me. And I actually found out from her sister that she was pregnant. And it kept a bond. He was born in Spain. I eventually made it to Spain. And it was great. I remember picking him up and taking him from the babysitters, and we'd go walking on the beach, and it would just be me and him. And that was a beautiful time. When we moved to Florida, and it was just me and him before his sister was born. It was just us, and I took care of him, and that was good times too. When Shannon came along, that was another blessing. That made number 2. And I had to adapt to having 2 small children. And it didn't faze me. I was down for it. I loved having kids. We did our time in Florida and moved back home. And here came Alyssa. She got pregnant, or my ex-wife got pregnant, and I got the first job I could get, which was with Del Tile, because I needed insurance. And I'm still working there today, 32 years later, so that should tell you something. But I needed a job. I needed insurance. A funny story about Alyssa. I took her mama to the hospital. She had Alyssa. I made sure they were all good and everything was okay. And I went to work. I went to visit her. She was okay. Everything was good. They released her. I went to work that morning. When they released her, I left work at lunch, went and picked her up, took her home, and went back to work. Nowadays, fathers take a month off of work. It wasn't like that back then. I wish it would have been. I would have been down for that. But I was 22 years old. I was a scared young father who didn't have a clue to what he was doing. He was just trying to do the best he could. 22 years old with 3 little children. I had no idea what was going on. All I knew is that I loved my kids and I was going to provide for them. And then once a little stability did come, and it was very little because I was a raging alcoholic. But one thing I learned was coaching, and that was due to my firstborn. I went to his first practice. His coach is like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Nothing." I was watching my son. He's like, "All right, you're going to help coach." And that's how I got into coaching, and I never looked back. It was one of the best things I ever did because I interacted with all my children. So as time went on, here came the baby, 30 years old, and we're doing it again. That was quite the unexpected blessing, but it was a blessing. When he came into this world, I was unfortunately still a raging alcoholic. I was doing my best to raise my children. I was in the room, but I wasn't always present. Thank God I got sober when he was still young. He didn't know me as an alcoholic, and we grew up together a lot. His other siblings were already a little older and in school, so they had both. His sisters saw both. His older brother, unfortunately, he only saw one. He didn't get to see the sober one until later in life when he lived with me. But each of my children have their own perspective on life, as they should. None of them are the same. Not a single one of them are the same outlook on life, the same opinions. They share some interests, but they all stand on their own, and they all have their own point of views and their own platforms and their own way of doing things. And I love that. I love that. And they're all my children, and I couldn't be more happier with them. Being a parent is no joke. It's no joke. And the more present you are and the more you understand, the more serious it is. And you understand your responsibilities. I didn't learn that till late in life. But I completely understand it now. I completely understand it. That doesn't mean I get it right. That doesn't mean I'm a perfect parent. I'm not. But I am my children's parent, and they all know that. And I realize that, and I see it. I see it in them. And they've blessed me beyond my wildest imagination. And I am forever in all of my children's debt for them giving me so many blessings and taking me to so many different heights in my life. And if I had to go back and change a thing and say I have regrets, I don't, or I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I was on my path. God was watching over me, and he got me here. And I'm forever grateful to them and to God. Without God, none of this would be possible. Even my current situation, I am thankful to God for, because he has opened up other doors and opened up other avenues of my life that is making me stronger and a better human being to understand other people's plights in life. And that is truly a blessing. And that is truly how I look at this situation right now. And to be able to love my children even more is mind-blowing. You think you get somewhere in life, and then it takes you even deeper. Crazy. And that's all because of God. And I accept that. I love that. It makes me me. Not perfect. Not walk on water. I'm a sinner. I've sinned. I'll probably sin after I leave here. But I know God loves me, and I love God, and I love my children, and it all goes hand in hand. I think I went over a little bit. You're probably going to be mad at me, but that's okay. All right. That's it. Deuces. All right. This is going to be a quick one about my parents. Of course, my mom, first and foremost, she was the first person I ever fell in love with without even knowing her. And she's been with me my whole life. She's known me longer than anybody in my whole life. She's supported me. She's helped me. She's done everything for me. She instilled my faith in God and helped me grow in that direction, which ultimately changed my life. She saved my life. She was a huge part in saving my life when I was going to just drink my life away and die, because I thought that's what God wanted. She was a young mother. She had me at 16. She was 16 years old. She was a child with a child. And I thanked her one time for not aborting me and not giving me away for adoption. And I meant it, because a lot of females, for whatever reasons, because they have their reasons, do that. Some people don't understand her. I understand her. I don't understand her every time, but I know she gives everything from her heart. She's one of the strongest women I know I've ever met in my life. That woman has been through so many things, so many, and she's so strong. It just blows my mind. I love her dearly, and she did the best she could. She did the best she could with me, and I gave that woman gray hair, premature gray hair. I told you about something about how I was, but she never gave up on me, and she could have. Some parents do give up on their children. She never gave up on me. I wouldn't have everything I have right now, my children, my grandchildren, without her. And I love her and I honor her to the utmost possible. I would die for her. There's not much more I can say about her. My dad, I only have one father. His name is Johnny Anguiano, and I'm his son, Henry Anguiano. Me and him did not start off on the right foot. We used to butt heads. We didn't always get along, but he did the best he could, and I'm forever grateful to him for giving me his name, for being my dad. We've had our ups and downs, but the Lord saw fit to make us grow together, or to help us grow together when he lived with me. And he taught me the value of working hard, going to work every day, taking care of your family no matter what. He didn't teach me how to be a father, but in its own aspect, he did teach me to be a father by me observing him. I love him with all my heart. There's nothing I wouldn't do for him. And he did the best he could. And in my eyes, he's my hero. He did things that other people couldn't do. And I just realized that right now, this second, that he's my hero. I wish everybody could see him the way I do. And I know they don't. That's hard for me sometimes, because I know they don't see him the way I see him. But he is my hero, and he's done a lot the way he can do it. He sacrificed a lot as a young person, and he missed out on a lot. But he assumed responsibility for me, and he did the best he could. And he actually brought me a long way and taught me a great deal. And I'm forever in his debt, and I love him with all my heart. I love you, Dad. I know Junior's gonna get mad, but I gotta throw Frank in there. He was my biological father. I didn't have a great relationship with him. We did spend time. And in the end, all that matters is we reconciled and he got to see me. And that's all that really matters. And in the end, him leaving this world gave me a new life, a new connection with the family I never had before. And he gave me my brothers, who I love dearly, them and all the family they gave me. And that was another chapter in my life. So I am thankful to Frank too, because he gave me another family, and he did help in my life. He helped me breathe. So I am grateful to him as well. That's it on my parents. Oh, and a shout out to Paul. You're always there for my kids, and you're a good man. You're not perfect. Nobody is, but you're a good man. You've helped my children, and they love you, and I am grateful for that. And I know you love my grandchildren too, and I'm truly grateful to you. So shout out to Paul Carey. Peace. All right. This is like a summary slash explanation kind of what I've been doing. I'm about to have surgery on Friday. Today is Tuesday. And my son here asked me if I'd do some recordings of some stories for him. I just scratched the surface with some of these stories, but they're all good memories because I came through unscathed. I should have passed away a long time ago. I didn't. And I've been a fighter all my life. And my situation with cancer right now is what brought this to the forefront to do the recordings, because I may lose my voice. I may not. And if this helps my grandchildren in any way, or my children, or my mom, or anyone, if I should happen to not make it, or whatever happens, whatever God has in store for me, if this helps a person get a little clarity or understanding, cool. If they just find it entertaining, cool. But the stories were all from the heart. My recordings for my grandchildren, for my children, for my parents, all from the heart. This is all 100% genuine. Nothing is manufactured. Nothing is fake. This is all real. This is all me. For a young man who started drinking, or a child, I should say, who started drinking and abusing drugs and abusing the drinking, and for all the craziness I did and I put on other people, I am very blessed to be in the position I am right now, just saying these words. I came out of a clan, out of a tribe, out of the Ramirez tribe, And to be born into the Ramirez tribe, you gotta be a fighter. There is no second best. You gotta hold your own. You have to. You have to hold your own in that clan, in that tribe. And that's what gave me my roots. My Papa Joe gave me those roots. I ended up getting picked up by another tribe, by the Anguiano tribe, and gave me more roots and made me even stronger. Because even in that tribe, you had to be strong. And both tribes were very similar. A lot of kids. I believe there was 10 in one and 9 in the other. I had a lot of aunts and uncles, a lot of people. And both of my tribes intertwined with cousins and just weird ways that they would cross paths. There's no way in this recording time I could tell you everything about my family. And then if you bring my biological father into the mix in the Tello clan, it's kind of similar. You had to be a fighter. You had to prove yourself. You had to carry your own weight. I take pride in my children carrying their own weight and doing their own thing, and they do. This cancer has brought all these things to the forefront for me to reflect on and to record some things about. I am truly thankful for all the support I'm getting in my journey. It's taken me to a different level of understanding. If it wasn't for this happening, I would still be doing okay. I'd still be doing all right, but I wouldn't be lifted to this next level of consciousness that I've had, that I'm experiencing right now as I speak. Don't go through life looking at challenges and sickness and sorrow as a bad thing. It's a blessing. It'll put you in touch with other things that you had no idea you were capable of getting in touch with. Death and hardships are all around us. As long as you're not dead, hardship, injury, disease, anything that you fight can be a good thing because it's going to make you stronger. It's going to help you help someone. That's how I look at this cancer. I don't look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as an opportunity for me to grow, to become another person, to become a better person. And that's exactly what I'm doing. God's plans are God's plans. But rest assured, it is his plan, not mine. I can't tell you how blessed and thankful I am for my family. Martin, Nana, Linda, Tony, Rachel, Kika, David. All of them. I hope I didn't leave anybody out. And they're significant others. I was always around family all the time. Everybody had input into my life and are part of the building blocks of my foundation, for good or for bad. They're all in there. Everyone. I don't remember a lot of things that people tell me, but there are a few specific things that always stick with me. And you got to remember those things and make them count. I know I'm going to get over this cancer. I already know that. On Saturday, I don't know if you're going to understand this. I was actually able to see inside of myself, which is a really bizarre thing. I got to see a perspective of myself that I had never seen before because I was seeing it through other people's eyes because of just them being there and supporting me. So I got to take a look at myself. I got to see inside of me who I was, because all these people were telling me this. They were showing it to me. And I'm happy to say it was a good thing. It was a good thing. God has brought me so far and changed my life so much through sobriety, through achievements with my kids, my grandkids. It's hard to explain. All I know is that you can do anything through God, and anything is possible. It's never too late to change. It's never too late to better yourself. It's never too late to learn something. When you stop learning, you start dying. So never stop learning. I owe everything to my family. If you have family, you have nothing. When I started recording this, I wanted to have some specifics. There are really no specifics to point out because life is made up of so many events, so many things you go through. My children were such a huge part of my life. I learned from them. And that's another thing. If you don't learn from your children, you're doing yourself a disservice. And I'm talking to parents. Listen to your children. No matter if they're 3 or 33 or 43 or anywhere in between, they have different phases of things they can offer. Doesn't mean they're always right, but it doesn't mean they're always wrong. You can learn. So pay attention. Pay attention to them. I'm going to continue with my journey, and I'm so blessed to say I'm not on it alone, because there's people on the same journey I'm on right now that are doing it alone, and my heart hurts for them. It really hurts for them. I couldn't imagine doing it alone. My son Devin, my daughter Shannon, my daughter Alyssa, my son Junior. Without them, I have no identity. When people would ask me what I do for a living, I used to tell them I'm a father. That should matter the most. Jobs and careers come and go. Your children don't. Unless you allow that. Don't allow it. When you're gone, those little lives represent who you are, what you were about, what you thought, what you said, how you acted. They represent you. They carry your legacy. I pray to God I've done my job, and they do carry on my legacy, and they think about me, and they tell stories about me to their children. Every time they speak my name, I continue to live, because I still speak about my loved ones that have passed, because they're going to always be part of my life. If you can take anything away from these tapes, even with the stories, is understand I survived through everything. I made it through everything with God on my side. And if I can do it, you can do it. I'm nobody special. Well, it depends on who you ask. I'm the king to some people, but I'm really no king. I'm just Henry. That's how I came into this world. And that's how I'm going to go out of this world. Just being Henry. But if you take anything away, take hope. Take hope with you, because there's always hope, even when you think there's none. As long as you got God with you, you have hope. That's the one thing that's been constant in my life. When I was down and I thought I was out, I always had hope. And God came through every time, just like he's going to come through on Friday. I pray that anybody that listens to this experiences as much love as I have in my life. I have felt love from so many different people, even in relationships that I have in the past that didn't make it the distance. There was still a lot of love there. Still a lot of love. And I feel very blessed with everything I've had in this life. And I know I'm going to continue to be blessed. I definitely, like I said, owe all this to my family. I have 7 godchildren, all boys, 1 girl. For some reason, I must have done something right for people to give me that responsibility. I have a very small circle. My compa Ernie and my compa Ron, my compa Manuel. That was it. Bunch of acquaintances, bunch of friends. I know a lot of people. Blah, 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 blah. Woo, 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 woo. In the end, I have 2 left. And their family. And their children are my family. Their children are my godchildren. I can't thank everybody that I've had an encounter with, good or bad, in this lifetime. I can't thank them enough. Because the bad ones taught me lessons. The good ones furthered me down the line and helped me and supported me. But I see it all as a learning experience and a win. It's hard to just stop speaking and trying to find an end to this, because there is no end. It doesn't end. When I stop speaking, it doesn't end. It's constant, because it's through God. So it's constant. I hope everyone or anyone that hears that understands what that really means. I'm not a Bible scholar, but I know God's real. And I know God loves you as much as he loves me. I'm going to get through this cancer come Friday. And I really do plan on making another recording. Part 2 of this one, where we start the next phase of the journey. And you guys get to trip out on that. So to anybody that hears this, stay blessed. Know you're loved. And you're never alone. Till next time.